All right, we're going to go ahead and kick our webinar off today. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, everyone. It's a very festive uh, season of the year, and this is my favorite season of the year. I'm sure it is many of you all's. And so I just wanted to make sure that we have something to talk about as we wrap up the year, and we can jump right into our topic today. So, things to know about annual and biannual reports. That's going to be our topic today. And I'm one of the partners at Community CPA, charge of advisory services. So I had the privilege of sharing this with you all today, right before Christmas. So about Community CPA, with more than 25 plus years of history, Community CPA, our team speaks more than 10 plus different languages, serving 10,000 clients worldwide. Ying Sai here, I know you all see her all the time here on our webinar. She's our CEO and managing partner at Community CPA, and we're a regional full-service CPA firm. She served on the National Taxpayer Advocacy Panel, a federal advisory committee to the Internal Revenue Service. So her second book is coming out. I don't know if you knew, but the 8 a.m. appointment with Ying was her first book for startup new businesses. This second book is about those that have started now wanting to grow your business. So it's a story-based book. So it's very, very enlightening and easy read. So I hope you guys find this, check this out on Amazon. It's available right now. So no responsibility disclaimer is something that we have to read all the time. Community CPA, as part of our services to our valued clients, are providing these seminars and webinars in order for businesses to cope with pandemic and beyond needs. We are not responsible for any damages the attendees may suffer as a result of following any of the advice or information provided. Although we are doing our best to stay informed, the current situation is very dynamic, changes all the time. We just wanted to make this available and properly announced for our audience today. Our information and advice are not legal in any nature, so should not be construed as such. Please consult your legal counsel if you should need any legal advice. So folks, we have 8 days left before December 31st, 2023. As we wrap up the year and move into 2024, if you haven't done your tax planning yet with Community CPA or with your firm, make sure you do it before the year end and reap those benefits. Estimated tax payments also need to be made out for 2023. Property tax payments, medical expenses, payroll processing for December should come out of 2023 so that you can have those additional deductions. Then come company renewal filings with Secretary of State. I know some of your states that you are a part of may not be due right now, but there are some states that do. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Annual and biannual reports. The importance of compliance. Some few takeaways I hope to share with you all and for you all to take away today after this webinar. The greater understanding of the requirements that's required and significance of adhering to Secretary of State regulations and consequences of non-compliance and non-filing renewals. So what are the annual and biannual reports? These are entity information updates that are required by the Secretary of State. And they have their due dates. Each state has its own. Filing fees are different from state to state. And forms also vary greatly by entity type sometimes, and whether the entity is domestic or foreign in its nature. So LLCs, corporations, nonprofits, they all have their annual reports and biannual reports. And so these are all due dependent upon the state that you're a part of. So some states have biannual reports that are due every 2 years, and even decennial filings requirements as is required in Pennsylvania. So some of the states we will cover today that we commonly see and our clients are at, but we'll look into that here in a little bit. When are they due? With little consistency across jurisdictions, across different states, tracking deadlines and filing on time presents a challenge for organizations of all sizes. Especially we have clients who have franchise, so they have multiple states to file these annual reports and biannual reports and to remember. But it is just important to remember that you have to file something, okay, with the Secretary of State. And you can always check this out, the filing requirements. If you usually do these by yourself and you don't have a CPA, to check them out on the Secretary of State website, because they make it very clear what that state requires. And obviously you can always ask us if you have any questions. Iowa, since we're based in Iowa, the filing requirement is the biannual reports every 2 years. Now, a lot of people get this confused. And so when we say, oh, Iowa is a biannual report, people think, oh, okay, I shouldn't be filing my biannual report right now. I just formed it last year. Well, here, see, it really just depends on which type of year the state is requiring you to file. So it is due every 2 years, but from the time that you've last filed. So for instance, corporations, by April 1st of even numbered years, reports need to be filed, and they may be required to file as early as January 1st. And I want to go ahead and insert here, C corporation, S corporation, and corporation with the Inc, co, corp. These are all corporations, and so you want to remember to file this on every even numbered years. Right now it's 2023, which means it's a odd number year. So LLC and nonprofits were due this year. Okay, so LLC and nonprofit, they're a pair. And so just remember that they are going by the odd number of years, and they're due April 1st. And something to know about Iowa in our history filing with Iowa, even though the first due date is in April 1st, there usually is extended due date. They probably don't want me to tell you that, but I want you to know that because it's a holiday season, and I feel like in the spirit of giving. So just know that if you miss that due date, then there's some additional months that may be available to you to file those in time. Okay, now Minnesota. This is as straightforward as it comes. This is the simplest way to know if you are a Minnesotan, company. You just have to remember your company needs to file every year before December 31st. Okay, so all across the board, corporation, LLC, nonprofit, they're all the same. Something to remember, okay? They're always due December 31st every year. So remember that. Wisconsin is a little unique. And so you see here, it really depends on your formation date. So when did you form your company? If you formed it within January 1st through March 31st, then it's due March 31st. April 1st through June 30th, then it's due June 30th. July 1st through September 30th, it's due September 30th. And October 1st through December 31st is due December 31st. So I think you guys can remember this. Just remember it's on a quarterly basis, okay? And whichever quarter you fall in, it's going to be the last day of that quarter, okay? California. California depends. So corporations, they're annually due by the last day of the anniversary month of the incorporation. You can start filing 5 months prior. LLC, biannually due by the last day of the anniversary month of the formation or qualification. You can start filing 5 months prior. By nonprofit is biannually due by the end of the month when the articles of incorporation were initially filed, can be submitted up to 5 months prior. So California, remember that. These are some other states that I just wanted to insert in case you're in one of these other states. So Georgia, Illinois, Michigan, and Washington, these are all annual reports. Okay, they're due January 1st through April 1st. For Georgia, due end of the month prior to the formation date. For Illinois, due every February 15th. For Michigan, and for Washington, due end of the month that it was formed with the state. And New York is biannual report, due every 2 years of the month that it was formed. Okay. If your state is not here, then feel free to give us a call if you have any questions, just to make sure your status is up to date, and if you are needing to file, and we can give you that answer, or also you can check out Secretary of State website for that answer. So what happens if I don't file, Dan? The states impose a penalty sometimes on companies that don't file their annual reports on file or biannual reports on file. So I just wanted to give an example about Florida. I know Florida has a hefty penalty for not filing your annual report on time. So just keep that in mind. Always know that these have consequences, and continued non-compliance can result in delinquency for the company, falling out of good standing and becoming inactive. Okay, this means the state will not issue a certificate of good standing if you ever were to need one, file documents for the company. So for instance, let's say you need to use your domestic Minnesota company, okay, to do more business in a different state. Let's say you want to go to Iowa. Then what you'll need is a certificate of good standing from Minnesota to prove to Iowa that you've been meeting your filing requirements and you're in good standing. But if you fail to do this and you lose your good standing, then you can't do that. So you'll have to go through the hoops of reinstating your company before you can file another company, file your company in another state. So just remember that it has consequences, and it's just unnecessary hassle, right? If you fall out of good standing. So further non-compliance can result in an administrative dissolution. This is what I was talking about, of a domestic company, and administrative revocation of the authority to do business if you're a foreign entity. So like the example earlier I was giving you, if you were to become a foreign entity doing business in Iowa from Minnesota, and if you don't do your required filings, then you'll lose your ability to transact in that state. So it can be a hefty consequence if the people that you're trying to work with are really looking into that status, especially banks. They look at this status, and so if they ever catch you being inactive, and they will tell you, hey, you need to reinstate your business, otherwise we'll have to close your bank account, and you really don't want to go through that. I literally had a client who actually had his account frozen because the Secretary of Standing wasn't up to date, and so it has a hefty consequence if it wasn't done correctly. Other things to know, other information that people commonly mistaken. So even if a company stops doing business in a state where it previously registered, it still has to file there until it properly withdraws from the Secretary of State. Otherwise, there could be failure to file penalties. So if you stop doing business there, you want to do a dissolution, and you want to close out that state accordingly. Otherwise, you are going to continue to need to file those annual reports or biannual reports. And something that I always tell folks about the importance of actual dissolution than letting it just administratively dissolve because of failure to not file your biannual or annual reports, is that when you're administratively dissolved, your company is not really dead. It's still open. It's just that it is inactive in the way that you can't, um, Joshua, Jalen, sorry, folks. Okay, where was I? Yes. So if you actually want to make sure that your company is completely closed in that state, you want to make sure that you dissolve your company instead of letting it administratively dissolve. And they're very different things. So dissolution by board of directors is really the way to go if you plan to close out doing business with that state. Filing your state income tax return does not take care of your annual report requirements. State annual reports and state income tax returns are different things. So you still need to file, even if you're never receiving a notice. The burden falls on you. Okay, so if you miss your renewal because you weren't home or the mail went missing, you just have to know that you have those requirements and you have to remember those due dates and file them accordingly. Or you can just hire a CPA firm like ours, and we are always good to sending you a reminder and asking you if you'd like us to help renew for that particular state if it's due. Okay, having a business does not do away with your annual report filing requirements. Obtaining or renewing a business license is not the same thing. So it's very different, folks. Okay. I just like to make sure I clarify that because I know people get that confused all the time. For instance, we have a contractor, a business, a construction business, and they have a requirement to file and renew their contractor license. So, we have to make it clear, hey, these are two separate things. You have to do them both, okay? Just because you did the renewal for the contractor renewal doesn't mean your annual report is up to date. And so these are all filing with different entities, agencies, and so you like to make sure you're filing them accordingly. So that's everything for today. I wanted to make sure I clarify and mention about the annual report that are due for our clients here. And I know some of you are in a different state that may not be due yet, but with the year end, we always like to talk about annual reports in case you have that filing requirement that's due here soon. So folks, I just want to go ahead and thank you for joining us today. I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday, and enjoy this time with your loved ones. And we wish you only the best in 2024, and we'll see you again here shortly. Thank you. Take care.